All right, I just want to start this morning by talking a little bit about networking in general. What networking is, and just as importantly, what networking isn't. First, I have to admit up front that everything I'm going to present today, I've learned from other people, many of whom are in this room today. So to the extent that any of us can be considered good networkers, I firmly believe that it's a learned skill and not something that you're born to do. Now, I could do a 30-second synopsis with a very simple bullet list. Networking is not selling, marketing, business card collecting, list building. It's not a series of one-time unconnected events, and it's not a short-term solution to any of your long-term problems. And by the way, did I say that networking is not selling? Networking is relationship building, referrals. It's one-to-one and has a group dynamic. It's learning, mutuality, it's a long-term process, and it's self-sustaining. So let me just expand a few minutes on a couple of these bullet points. The biggest misconception for many people new to networking is that networking and selling are synonymous. With apologies to my friends, the sales trainers in the room here today, selling is the process of identifying prospects, obtaining appointments, making presentations, and working towards a close. Now, while we're all trying to grow our business and add new customers, that's not why we're here today. One of my networking mentors put it to me very clearly and simply one time. Networking is making connections to create opportunities. That's opportunities for you and for others. And let me repeat that. Networking is making connections to create opportunities. While those opportunities may lead to sales, an immediate sale should not be your objective. I said in my bullet list that networking is not marketing. Well, anything and everything you do technically to promote your business is marketing, and to that extent, so is networking. But if your purpose for being here today was to get a list of warm leads, so you can go back to your office and pound out a direct mail, telemarketing, or email solicitation, then I think you've really missed the point. I don't necessarily want to be a warm lead for any of you. The harsh reality is I didn't come to a meeting like this today to become a target for your sales and marketing promotions. My long-term goal for being here is to meet and establish relationships with people who can have a positive influence on my business. Now, I mentioned in my list that networking is one-to-one and also has a group dynamic. Now, it might sound like it, but those two things are not mutually exclusive. The only way to build strong relationships and develop effective referral networks is through one-to-one interaction. We could probably spend hours and hours on how to be better one-to-one networkers, but for me to summarize it, I would just say that you should look at who are the positive influencers on your business today, and then go out and try and find and establish relationships with more of those same types of people. Now, the group dynamic comes into play for me, especially when you're involved with an organization like the Chamber, or it could be Latipi and I, or any other networking group. Keep in mind the old adage that you can't be all things to all people. You can't help everybody, everybody can't help you. Even after years of networking, I always still struggle with the fact that I can't, and maybe it's sometimes not can't, but I just don't help everyone. Now, at this point, a lot of times I like to pick on the financial guys and gals in here on how the group dynamic works, but I'm going to pick on myself instead. So I want to ask, how many people here today are in some way in the promotional products and advertising specialties business? Just please raise your hand. How about printers and graphics? Okay, so there's 5 or 6 people standing out here in this room today that are in the same or similar business as me. Now, I understand the rest of you as individuals don't have the time, the opportunity, the ability, or even the desire to try to establish relationships with 6 different people and help 6 different people from one business segment. And you multiply that by all the business segments represented in this room today, and it starts to look a little bit overwhelming. The way I simplify it is by looking at this group, in this case the Chamber of Commerce, as a true network. So for instance, if our host John Houston has, say, established a relationship with Fritz Jardine or Alan Verbeek, Fritz I know is a member here today with an excellent printing company, or with, say, Donna Sarno or Randy Goldberg, who are members here today and great promotional products distributors, and if he's providing them with warm qualified leads or helping them in some way, then he's still a very important part of my network. And that's because Fritz might be helping Ann Citron, and Ann may be, or Ann and Dawn may be referring business over to Hillary Carmen. and Hillary Carmen might be working hard on behalf of Chip. And eventually, if it comes back around, maybe it's Chip or someone else in the network who ends up utilizing my services or providing us with warm leads. So to me, the group dynamic is the network. Now, I'll go a step further and contend that if I or if any of you are very active members in the group and the rest of the members see you working hard on the group by volunteering on committees, by working on events, by donating your time or services in other ways, then you've earned the group's support regardless of whether or not you can provide a specific referral to any one individual. Now, another one of the networking is bullet points that I mentioned was learning. In your face-to-face and one-to-one networking, you should be trying as hard as you can to learn as much as you can about the other person and their business. And at the same time, be prepared to educate them about your business. But use the 80-20 rule. You should spend 80% of the time focused on the other person's business and only 20% on yourself. We should all etch the phrase, "It's not about you," on the inside of our eyelids. And when you find yourself in the middle of a great big data dump about all the wonderful things we do and all the great services we can provide to somebody else, take a deep breath, close your eyes and read it. Again, it's not about you. Now, I realize I might have created a bit of an awkward situation for many of us here, especially at the end of this meeting when we start mingling and networking again, because I can kind of hear it now. Please tell me a little bit about your business. No, you first. I'd love to learn more about you. No, really, I insist. No, I ask first. It could get a little ugly. So if everybody understands the networking and the dynamics of it and you're all good networkers, a 50-50 split is okay. So my 5 or 6 minutes this morning went pretty quickly, and it only allowed for a very brief overview of networking and only from one individual's perspective. I'm sure all the presenters here this morning could probably go into 2, 3, or 4-hour seminars on how to be better networkers. But what we hope to accomplish by simply dipping our toes in the networking waters here today is to generate more interest on all of your parts to become better networkers. Because if that happens, we all benefit. And if you don't have the time or the money to take a 4-hour seminar on networking, I guarantee you that you can learn just as much or more by watching and emulating some of the great networkers that we have right here in the chamber. So thank you for a few minutes this morning, and now I'm going to turn the microphone over to Hillary Carmen of Oxford Learning.